joining my colleagues to discuss the Biden administration's failed policies and their impact not only on my state in North Dakota, but on all Americans. As we prepare to listen to the President give his State of the Union address tonight, I want to share my perspective about the past 3 years and where we are today. But it's not just my perspective. It's what my constituents are seeing on a day-to-day basis. They see a country that is less secure, a dollar that doesn't stretch as far as it used to, and policies from this administration that are making things worse. The reckless tax and spend policies of this administration have led to increases in inflation levels that we haven't seen in decades. And to this day, inflation remains persistently high. And the deficit spending continues as our debt now totals more than $34 trillion. Last month, the Congressional Budget Office published its 10-year budget and economic outlook, which revealed that this year the interest payments on our national debt will exceed spending on national defense. In addition to rising interest payments, that will crowd out our ability to fund our priorities for the future. This deficit spending has led to inflation that has made everything more expensive for all Americans. The Biden administration's tax, spend, and regulate policies have led to this inflation. In my state of North Dakota, according to the Consumer Price Index data, families have experienced a cumulative price increase of about 18% since President Biden took office. That means paying more for everything from groceries to housing to transportation and energy. North Dakota is actually among the youngest states in the nation with a median age of just over 35 years of age. Many of our young North Dakotans are looking to buy homes and start families, but this administration's failed economic policies have caused the inflation that has simply put home ownership out of reach. According to Freddie Mac, the 30-year fixed-rate mortgage continues to hover at about 7%. Before Biden took office, less than 4%. Bottom line, the policies of this administration that the President calls Bidenomics gets you less for more. Not more for less, less for more. And at the same time, President Biden he has his Green New Deal agenda over our national security interest. And that's because the cost of energy, the average price for a gallon of gas was about $2.40 on January 20, 2021, when President Biden took office. This week, gasoline prices are 42% higher, $1 higher. So instead of $2.40, now you pay on average $3.40 for every gallon. It's simple economics. Energy prices remain high because demand exceeds supply. And because the cost of energy is built into every good and service that we consume, we need to increase the supply of energy to help bring down inflation. Yet instead of unleashing the full potential of our nation's vast energy reserves, the Biden administration's regulatory onslaught will only favor foreign adversaries at the expense of our own domestic energy industry. The Biden administration is imposing new costs and regulatory burden on federal energy leases, for example, while reducing what's available for new leasing. Maximizing access to new leasing today is directly tied to growing production and supply for the long term. Further, the Biden administration unilaterally has now banned U.S. LNG export approvals, forcing our allies in Europe and Asia to increase their reliance on imports from Russia, Iran, and Qatar. According to the U.S. Energy Information Administration, global energy demand is expected to grow across all sectors of the economy through 2050. And our nation is fortunate to have abundant energy reserves and the capacity to ramp up production and counter adversarial foreign producers from countries like Russia, Iran, and Venezuela. But the Biden administration continues to handcuff our producers with burdensome regulation after regulation. That's why President Biden needs to take the handcuffs off our energy producers and work with us to boost American energy independence instead of passing regulation after regulation that shuts our energy industry down. Producing more energy here at home is the ultimate solution to not only lowering energy costs, but to strengthen our national security and our geopolitical standing in the world. And in addition to those issues in regard to Bidenomics, I want to talk about his failure on the border. 2023 was a record year for President Biden's border policy. It was record-breaking. By the end of the year 2023, the United States saw the most ever annual encounters at the southern border, almost 2.5 million. Mind-boggling. 2.5 million in 2023. President Biden's border policies broke records again as over 300,000 illegal encounters took place in December. Just in December, 1 month, 300,000 in 1 month, December 2023, the most encounters in any single month during his administration. The cause of this crisis is clear. President Biden's failure to secure the border. Simply put, his failure to enforce the law. The duty of a president is to enforce the law. He is not doing it. The American people suffer the consequences because the Biden administration refuses to enforce policies that protect our southern border, including reinstating the Migrant Protection Protocol or the Remain in Mexico policy, enforcing third safe country agreements, and resuming construction of the border wall. The president's failed border policies have led to increased instances of human and drug trafficking at the southern border. And it's not just human trafficking, it's the fentanyl, it's all of the problems that go with an open border. The Biden administration must address the border crisis. The Biden administration must enforce the laws that kept monthly encounters to vastly, vastly lower numbers under the Trump administration, and they need to do it now, because border security truly is national security. In conclusion, we can reverse all of these metrics, but it's going to take the president embracing the realities facing American families. And given his track record these past 3 years, I'm not optimistic that we will hear him signal a reversal of these policies tonight. But he needs to, for the good of the country.